Thanks for being back on the show. I'm excited to have you here and talk about social media because I feel like I definitely get a lot of DMs about creating a social media account. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your journey and how you got into social media.
Yeah, so I honestly didn't have a social media account. I had one in 2013, like when Instagram opened. I was like, oh, let me create an account. And then I didn't post. Like I posted every 3 years, honestly. I posted like a picture every 3 years, and then 3 years later I posted another picture. Like really no presence. I had like a few like friends who followed me, but I was mostly on Facebook. And I didn't know how to work Instagram. People would send me messages, like my friends, and they would like disappear. And I was like, I don't understand. Why did these things disappear? Because stories expire. And I had no like understanding of Instagram prior to 2020, if I'm being honest. And I think Britt was making fun of somebody, or we were making fun of something like who doesn't know how to do that? And I was like, I didn't know how to do that like a few years ago. I didn't know how to work Instagram. Um, yeah, so I started initially a page with my friends in 2020, and I didn't start one alone because I was kind of afraid of posting. I just felt really weird, and I felt like people were going to come after me if I posted stuff. So it just made it easier to start posting with my friends. And so we did that for a little bit. I'll say that I learned a lot from doing a page with my friends. We made a lot of mistakes, if I'm being honest. I feel like we did maybe too many giveaways, and all our followers were for giveaways, and then we didn't really have an authentic like following of people who like followed us for us, and so then our engagement was really poor. We weren't on the early bandwagon to do reels either. We struggled. Eventually, that page gave me the experience to decide to do something on my own. And I really wanted to branch off from what we were doing. We were doing like general dental hygiene content, and I wanted to do Latina dental hygienist Spanish content. And that a lot really did not go with our current page. And so I created a new page, and I started getting really serious about it January of 2022. I had 1,000 followers January 2022. And today we are in January 2024. So 2 years later, I have 25,000 followers. My first year was, not a slow growth. It was a consistent growth. I'm very proud of my first year's growth. I was growing 300 followers a month, and I was super proud of that, honestly. At the end, I had 5,000 followers, and I felt really good about that. And then I had a viral for me video, not a viral like video, like a viral video, but for me, it was viral. And then from January 2023, I went 5,000 to 10,000 in March. And then in June, I had 20,000 followers. So, and the last few months have been a little slow. I've been slacking. So I've only grown 5,000, but still, I think significant growth for the time that I've been on social media.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you feel that there is room for more dental professionals to create their own social media accounts, or do you think it is saturated and there isn't any more growth?
I think there's hardly any dental content creators out there. And I'm gonna be a little mean, and if you know me, like I'm a very straightforward kind of person. So I feel like there are people who are trying, but there are a few people who are really mastering it. And so I think that there are people who are currently doing it who could do better, who could be really good. But I think there's people who just don't know how. They're posting online, but they don't know things like the millennial pause, or they don't know about that the quality of your video matters, or that social media evolves, and the things that were working in 2020 do not work in 2024. So the pointing videos, those don't work in 2024. And so I think that yes, there are some content creators who could really be good. I think you need a little bit more guidance, and maybe that's why they're not growing, they're staying stagnant. And then I think there's topics that just haven't been captured at all. I think, and even for me in a very specific niche, there's not anybody else doing dental Spanish. I welcome anybody else wanting to do dental Spanish, anybody who wants to do Latina content. Being the only one sometimes is hard, because when opportunities come to me, I can't do all the things, right? And it's a lonely space sometimes. Like sometimes I want to be able to relate to, for example, I did a reel and I showed it to my husband. I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, I don't get it. He doesn't get it because he's not Latino. He doesn't know Spanish. And so I wish I had another like Latina content creator friend who could be like, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think this would hit with our audiences? But because nobody has the exact same audience I do, it's kind of lonely sometimes.
Yeah, I think that there is definitely a lot of areas that creators can come into, especially right now. I mean, I feel like that's how I got into it is like I saw a need and I filled it, but there's also so many other needs that are out there that are ready to be filled too. And I think with social media too, there's this huge like misconception that all you have to do is go viral. And like you were saying, viral is different to every creator depending on how big or small their platform is. But going viral will not like it's not long term. It's not the long game. You can go viral and that video will be played out in like a couple days and you're not going to see anything come from it. I've I've gone viral several times and honestly that's not even a goal for me. Like at first it was like the first time it happened, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I went viral." But it doesn't build a an audience that trusts you and all that stuff. It's kind of just a quick thing that happens and it comes and goes. So the end game is not just to go viral. I feel like you have to be very consistent and you have to show up a lot. When people ask like, "Oh, how did you start doing it?" I started October 2020 and we're in 2024 now. So, by the end of this year, I'll be doing this for 4 years and there is a lot of time and effort that I have put into my platforms and not been compensated. I will say the majority of deals I decline and I do not get paid. Like most of everything you see me do on social media, a lot of it and most of it I'm not getting paid to do. So I don't like yes, you can get paid from social media, but I don't want to give out this impression that like you're going to instantly make a ton of money off of it. And that one viral video is like enough.
Yeah, no. And if we're talking Instagram specifically, Instagram doesn't really pay you for your videos. Like TikTok does up to an extent, right? Like TikTok, if you have 10,000 followers and you're in the program, they'll pay you on views on videos that are longer than a minute. Instagram doesn't do that. And for me on TikTok, I don't have hardly any following. So even if I had a viral for me video, it would do nothing. I wouldn't make any money off of it. I do think like Instagram it's easier to get in deals, brand deals on Instagram, but it's a little different. I think if you with your following, how large are you on TikTok? Close to
I
100.
have like 88,000, I think. Yeah.
I think for you likely would be able to get, if you were non-dental, I feel like you would have a ton of like brand deals on TikTok, right? But because we're like so niche down
Mm-hmm.
and the dental industry is so far behind always and in everything, you do have to be kind of those trailblazers. You have to be the one having those conversations, having to set those standards. And
Yeah.
sometimes that can be harder. I have been blessed in my dental content creating career that I do make money off of Instagram. I do have regular brand deals. So I'm gladly will share my numbers. I don't know what I'm currently making. I don't know what I made in 2023. I can tell you that in 2022, my first year of content creating, so from 1,000 to 5,000 followers, I made a little bit over $14,000 my first year of content creating. Yeah. But I will also say I am pretty good at business stuff. So it's not just about like creating the content. You also have to know one, like your worth. You have to be willing to have those hard conversations about money. And I have a hard time with that too. One of the things that I always say is like, I go into a deal willing to lose that deal, right? I am not going to, I want to work less and be paid more than work a ton and be paid less. And I also think like when you're doing content for ads, that is still work too. So I don't like to do a whole lot of them. But yeah, a lot of it is work. Content creating is work, and sometimes I get tired. Honestly, sometimes that's why I go on break, and why I don't grow is because I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do have to learn negotiation skills and how to say no and how to not accept every single deal that comes your way. And you have to know your worth, especially in the field of dental content creating. Like Amber said, dentistry is behind in everything, and that includes social media and content creating. There is a lot of trails that are just now being put down by the people that are creating the content and setting the standard. Like if we say there's like an industry standard for certain things, who are the people that are setting this standard? Because it is just now happening right now where we're seeing these very large creators get paid for certain things. So like we really are starting to be the people that are laying down, the foundation for what it looks like to be a dental professional who is also creating content and working for brands in that way.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll be honest that we have had those initial conversations with these companies who have never even thought about what Instagram looks like, how they can use that for their business, what the ROI or return of investment for them will be if they are, paying me to post on social media. I think some companies just are starting to see it. But as a speaker, I'm starting to get paid more from brand deals than some of my speaking gigs, because some people are trying to understand, like, oh, me going to speak to 100 people, that's it. It's just those 100 people and it dies then. Versus me posting on social media, hopefully 20,000 people will see it, maybe more, maybe less, right? But to your point where you've had viral videos, I have never hit 1 million views. Never. I think this year I hit 100,000 views on a video of mine. And so I have never had like something super, super viral. But I think what's helped me grow is being like consistent, staying true to like my niche, who I am as like a creator, what my page is about, making sure that I try to be educational. That is my always my goal. Different pages have different styles, but like there's some funny ones that I follow those because I get value from that. I think the value that I can bring is my knowledge in public health and in the Latin community. So yeah, I would say, like, if you're listening to this and you're wanting to content create, like, don't get discouraged. Like, any growth is
Yeah.
good. Not to, yeah, like my first year, honestly, I thought I was killing it. I still think I was killing it my first year. 300 followers per month, like,
Yeah, it's
that was
great.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are times right now, even at 25,000 followers, where I won't grow 300 followers a month, right? I've been at 25,000 for a good minute here. So you go through your periods. I think you just have to like stay consistent, know that it is work. I would say though, like, I would not let it take over or consume my home life. I've had also a lot of things that have happened to me in these past 2 years where I've been going through IVF, and I had a miscarriage in 2022. So during some periods of time, I wasn't posting. 2023, I was going through IVF and that wasn't going super successful. My dad had cancer. So there are times where I just mentally, I wasn't there. I could not do it. And if you're wanting to post, know that it's okay to take breaks, right? And come back, and that's okay too. And I wouldn't compare yourself to other people either. Like, there are people who, I mean, Steph Potts, she and I started kind of similarly, and she passed me up, and then I was way behind, and then I caught up to her, and then I passed her up, and now she's passing back up, right? And I think those things are so wonderful. I love Steph because, man, that girl works hard. That girl hustles. She's posting every single day. She is consistent. And instead of me, like, I could have been like, oh, she passed me up, you know? No, instead it's that, damn, I know Steph works hard. And I know that I take breaks. I know that I don't work as hard as Steph works. So you have to be comfortable in who you are and not blame others for your success or lack of success.
Yeah, and I think too, like when it comes to follower count too, that's not the only thing that we look at, It's almost like your hourly rate as a hygienist. So many of us get fixated on that number, like, ooh, I want to make $60 an hour, and you don't look at the bigger picture and all the other things that are included in that. And so with social media, yeah, you can have a large following, but what's your engagement like? How many likes are you getting? How many comments are you getting? is your audience actually engaged in the content and interested in the content that you're creating? So, a big follower count is great, but it's not always the only thing that matters. And there are brands that are looking to work with micro influencers or whatever the name of it is. But if you only have 1,000 followers, there is value in that too. So you don't have to look at it as like, oh, I need to be this big, huge creator to be successful. It's not true. And I think too, with social media, starting out, I never thought of it as something like I wanted to make money off of. I didn't look at it that way. I literally just was like, you know what? What if I can help somebody that, dropped out of college and needs to go to community college because that's their only option? Like, what if I can help that person? And so that was like my initial, mind frame around all of it. And so, now the extra bonus is getting some type of income from it. But I think that if that is your mindset around social media, is only making money off of it, I don't think that long term that's sustainable, because creating content gets exhausting. It takes mental work. You have to know how to edit. You have to reply to people. It takes a lot of effort. And ultimately, that money isn't going to be the only thing that keeps you consistent.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I like with the thing with the follower count, you can have, and there are people who have more followers than me and don't have as great engagement as me. And there's people who have less followers than me and have better engagement rates than me and have better relationships with their community. So it's not just about that follower count. It's also like, yeah, how engaged are they with you? How connected are they with you? To the point of where my old platform that I had with my friends, at one point that had more followers than me, but not as great of engagement because there wasn't that community, there wasn't that relationship. And so you have to be willing to build that. And again, I agree with your sentiment of don't do it for the money, because if it's for the money, none of us are living off of social media alone. Okay, let's be for real. It is nice, supplemental. It is nice. But I started off because I teach a course called Caring for Latin Community, and people were asking for dental Spanish resources, and I couldn't find some. And so I was like, well, I can do that. I can make some videos with my Mucho Rancho Spanish. I can do that. And I did. And I guess people found some value in that. No, I will say it's gotten me some good opportunities, some nice experiences, meeting some great people. Britt and I connected online, Steph and I connected online. The friendships I've made have been great. Social media can still be scary though. People can be mean online. But for the most part, I think I've had a good experience online. People can be mean though. Strangers on the internet can be mean.
Yeah. And that's something that I feel like I've definitely grown in the sense of learning how to deal with negative comments, negative messages. There's still sometimes when it gets to me and I have to text Amber and say, oh my gosh, look what this person just wrote. I can't believe they would say that. I want to go off and I want to comment back. And she says, no, just ignore it. And we ignore it and we vent to each other about it. But I think when I initially started off and I didn't have anybody to really talk to about those things, it was really tough. And there was sometimes where I would just stay up thinking about a comment. So you do have to build some thick skin. And I will say, especially if a video goes viral. If a video goes viral, you are definitely opening the door to some very, very negative comments, and you have to be mentally prepared for that because it can be a lot to deal with. But it's part of what comes with putting yourself out there on social media. But I think overall though, it's definitely given me some life skills, even outside of social media.
Yeah. So can we talk about your hate Reddit page? Somebody made.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah, we could talk about that.
That's when you made it, right?
I forgot about that.
Hate page on Reddit for Brush with Britt. I'll tell you a different story that you don't know about. I haven't told you. I was at a wedding, and it was a dentist wedding. Okay, and it was my husband's dental school classmates, and my husband's a dentist. And somebody mentioned Brush with Britt. Oh yeah, that Brush with Britt. And I'm like, yeah, what about that brush with Brit? And so I was like, oh, I'm like, she's my friend. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, Brit's my friend. But I was like, dang, you know what? Brit made it. Because if some random dentist in nowhere, Wisconsin knows brush with Brit, like there's something to be said about that, right? I don't know. And my husband's like, oh, like how did our friend know? And I love our dentist friend too, right? But yeah, something to be said like about like people will know you without you knowing them, and that sometimes is kind of strange. I have been in situations where people will come up to me and I don't know their face or I don't remember them. Really embarrassing situation. I was out and somebody came up to me. She had beautiful teeth. And she's like, Amber, I just wanted to say hi. And so I was like, does this person know me from online and like social media? Does this person know me in real life? And I was like, I'm like so sorry. Where do I know you from? And she's like, oh, I'm married to Ty. And I'm like, Ty? Like my little hygiene classmate, Ty? And I was like, dang, I thought he was gay. And I was like, really? I was like, Ty? She's like, yeah, Ty. And then I was like, I don't know. So she's like, Lon Win, my husband? She's like, yeah. She's like, I'm married to that. I'm like, that is this shit. I'm like, that. I was like, my husband's cousin. It was my husband's cousin. It wasn't even the person online. Like,
Oh my gosh. But you were thinking it
I was
was.
thinking it was a person online because I couldn't recognize her face just because I'm bad with
Got
faces,
it.
but it wasn't, I did not know she wasn't from online. It was just
Got
me
it.
being like being more famous than I actually am. Is what's happening.
Well, like it definitely does create some interesting situations because your audience and the people that follow you, they have their own perception of you. And
Yeah, for sure.
what we put on social media is not everything. And I've had comments made like, "Oh, so who you are on social media, like that's like more of like an act, like a character that you create." And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what do you mean? And they were just like, I guess I was more like, I don't know, I guess more shy or quiet in person than they expected me to be. I just didn't meet their perception, the way that they thought I was going to be. And so I've had that kind of stuff happen to me, which is fine. You can't totally know who somebody is just based off of social media, but that is something that comes with being a creator.
Yeah. So I agree. Like I think when I'm comfortable, I'm like talkative, like with you, I'm talkative and outspoken. When I get in front of people, I get super like socially awkward and like I don't know what to say. And then also like when I'm going online, I am not that I'm putting up a persona, but you are in a sense creating and acting and being more like
Yeah, bubbly or
entertaining.
entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Absolutely.
I'm not always. I'm not always like that, right? Like I'm not gonna emo Amber does not belong online, so I'm not gonna put emo Amber online. But am I sometimes emo? Yeah, I am sometimes emo, right? Like it's there. We're not just the person we put online, but I'm not gonna when I'm creating content, I want to put content out that there is entertaining, that is uplifting, that is so yeah. I can definitely sense that I am kind of weird in person. I'm like, oh, be better, Amber. Be better.
Be better about it.
It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, I just get weird because I don't know. Like, I guess it's my own like issue with my mind. I feel like people are have this expectation of me, and then I'm like, am I gonna meet their expectations? And then I get nervous, and then I don't know what to say, and so it's hard. But what a privileged thing to complain about,
Right?
like on the real, like what, like oh, people know you, and so you're complaining about that, like
Wow, it
for
must
real,
be
girl.
so hard.
Yeah, for real, must be so hard. No, I mean, honestly, social media has been a great blessing. I get to educate. I've gotten lots of opportunities. I've been invited to like speak because of my social media presence. I've done things like hosting booths at conferences and getting my like conferences paid for. Maybe it's not like actual money, but I've gotten like, oh, I get to go and meet more people because somebody wants me to like be at their booth, and then like yeah, making more friends and I learned a lot online from people. And so I hope that I bring value to people too. I'm going to be on, like, I just did a media interview. Yeah, there's been some good things.
Yeah, and I think too, like one of the things I want to highlight is that we are able to make a bigger impact on our patients' lives. And also, if we're able to teach another provider something, then we are if you're able to teach another hygienist a certain skill or a tip or something, that will translate to patient care. And ultimately, you're able to improve patients' lives by teaching other providers, which I think is an amazing thing to be able to do through social media. So I just feel like I see so many nurses, I see so many nursing pages, and that's where I'm just like, I want to see that for dental hygiene and prevention.
Yes.
And also, like, part of it too is, when we're in hygiene school, they talk about all these different things that you can do outside of the operatory in a dental office. And a lot of the things that you can do outside of an operatory are still being created. And part of that comes with creating a network of people, and you can do that through social media and be able to learn more from all the different people you're connecting with so that you can build those opportunities that are outside of general practice. That's one of the biggest things that I learned. When I was in school, they say like, oh yeah, you can get into public health, but how? Like,
Yeah.
who's going to teach me how to do that? Well, now I have Amber who has taught me so much about it, and you can do that for all the different things like speaking. And that's the part about social media that I really want hygienists to really see, that you can take full advantage of the opportunities that we have available to us through using content creating, so that you can basically broaden your horizons and do more outside of general practice if you want.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why I created a page for dental professionals instead of, for community members, because I felt like I could reach more people. Like, if I can, like, do I talk to my patients in Spanish? Yes. But if I could teach a dental professional some basic Spanish, and that could improve the experience that a Spanish speaking person, a Latin person has at the dental setting, like, I feel like I've made a bigger impact, because it's not just on my one patient, but on my bigger Latin.
Okay, it's back.
Yeah, ultimately that's my goal. Like, if I could reach more dental professionals who are then reaching their patients in my community, then I'm making a bigger impact. And ultimately that's what I do, right? I do public health dentistry. I love the Latin community. I hate the disparities that we face, the lack of education that we have. And so it's a way of me doing, I feel like a way of me doing community service, because no, for the majority of my videos, I am not getting paid. For the ads that I am doing, I charge a lot. And so I make a significant amount of money from charging a lot. But my education videos, my Spanish videos, I'm not getting paid. It's because I want to educate people how to better care for my people, so that they don't have the same experiences that I had growing up, or like my parents had growing up, or so that other people don't have to lose their teeth like I had to lose my teeth. Or because, I didn't go to the dentist because I didn't know that there was nonprofit clinics. Like, I didn't know there were resources available to me that I didn't know about, and dental professionals didn't know to tell me about them. And so, yeah, I feel like in a way it's preventing these issues from happening. I agree that I love how nurses have really uplifted themselves and made a voice for themselves. And if you think of nurses, you like frontline workers, right? And you think like, man, nurses, they're so exceptional. Nurses have the same education as we do, and yet we're not seen as like as high standard as them. I feel like, but they have advocated so hard for themselves online, outside online. There are some nurses that I follow, and I'm like, I don't even need this kind of content, but I'm watching them because they're super educational and they're doing big things and getting on the news. And it's not just one; it's hundreds of them. I agree. I wish there was more of that. Like, we talk about uplifting our profession. This is a great and easy and accessible way to uplift the profession.
And that's exactly why I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to share what we have coming for the audience who is listening. Whoop, whoop. Amber and I have a big announcement. Drum roll. I'll let Amber do it. Amber, why don't you tell everybody what we have coming?
I was like going to ASMR this, but I don't think my mic does that. Yeah, Brush with Britt and Amber are creating a dental content creating course so that we can guide you in your content creating journey. If it's, if you have a page that you've already started and you feel like, hey, maybe I'm not growing like I would like to, I need some tips, like how did Amber and Britt do it? We're going to provide that on the course. We're talking about monetization because that's important. We're going to talk about, though, like very basic things like branding and how to come up with ideas, like how to, like, what things that, even those little things that you need to do to be able to reach where we are at. We're super excited to share our knowledge, but you can be somebody who's just starting. You can be somebody who has a platform and you just want to, hey, maybe like give yourself a little nudge. Or you could be an expert at our course too. But yeah, we're super excited. We want more people at the top where Britt is. I don't know if it's going to be quite where Britt is, but
yes, you are.
Britt is our number one, right? Like that's who we all look up to. Let's be for real. Like Britt is the dental hygiene content creator. And we love that. We love that for us. We also want more people too, though, right?
Yes, we definitely want, that's the goal. We want more hygienists, more dental professionals creating content, spreading awareness, oral systemic health, medical dental integration, all of those things. So that is why the Latina RDH and Brush with Britt are coming together to create a course for you so that you can advance your profession through content creating. And I think it's a great thing. So all of that information will be linked in the description of this episode. And then Amber, if you can also share with the audience where they can find you, which I'm sure they already know, but just in case, you can plug your Instagram and TikTok and whatever platforms you want to share.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at the Latina RDH. I'm also on TikTok. I don't post as much on there, but I'm same handle. If you want to email me, you can email me at amlovatos, Lovatos @gmail.com. I am not the best at responding to emails, so you might have to email me a few times before I respond. So best bet is honestly, it's Instagram. Find me on Instagram.
Instagram. All right, perfect. And then I will also list all of that information in the description box of this episode. And we hope to see you at our on-demand course, which will hopefully be coming out soon. But yeah, we're working on creating that today, actually. So more information on that to come. And thank you for listening. This is the Brush with Britt podcast.